Hello, welcome to the Sharpest Teeth. My name is Saturn, and I will be your guide today for the eclipse coming up pretty soon here on the 12th. I am going to be pulling from the elements of Source, Oracle, and the Autonomic Tarot. From the elements of Source, Oracle, we will be drawing 2 cards only. And the first card is what is inside of you. The hand that bonds, finding self within or without, unity. And the second card is what you must find, solidarity, strength within the collective. This is interesting because I was just thinking about this today. And that's interesting because they're both unity cards as well. Finding self within or without. You already know yourself. I think that some of us make an identity around finding ourselves and healing. And that is always putting us in search of something. Trying to improve ourselves or whatever, you know. And more I am getting the message that we are what we are now. We are whole, we are complete within ourselves already. And of course, it is, it's important to know yourself. And I think that we already know ourselves, and a part of the work is actually, like a big part of the work, like most of the actual work is the embodiment piece. So we can talk all day. We can use the buzzwords. We can use the language of self-awareness. But it really doesn't mean anything unless we are embodying it. And I believe that this unity, the hand that bonds, is saying that, like, we already have everything that we need in order to embody our values and embody ourselves. And the astrology this week is definitely like helpful toward knowing our values and living in our values, as well as like finding discernment of how and when to engage with those values. And that's where the solidarity piece comes in, right? Because I think that, like, the solidarity piece, strength within the collective, is allowing everyone to be human, everyone to make their own mistakes. This is like similar to the reading last week, in that vein of like forgiving yourself and forgiving others, and knowing how to and when to stand in solidarity with others without compromising your values, right? And knowing yourself is all well and good. Knowing yourself is great. Being yourself, being your authentic self, manifests wonderful things. And it's kind of pointless without other people. We need to have solidarity with the people that we are in relationship with, in community with. Because there are so many of us. And all of this inner work, all of this healing work, all of this spiritual work is essentially nothing without comradeship and engaging in your politics and engaging in your community and engaging with the people around you. So, how do we do that? That's the question, right? So that's what I'm going to ask the Autonomic Tarot, is to point us toward the steps to take to form more solidarity and form more connections with people. Interesting. This is also what I was reflecting on this morning. The Tower. What I was reflecting on was being uncompromising in myself and knowing what I want, and not being afraid to turn my life upside down in order to get it, essentially. I think this also is indicative of the state of the world right now. The foundations of capitalism and white supremacy that the US and a large part of the world is built on and affected by is starting to crumble beneath its own weight, essentially. The disparities are growing larger and larger, and this is why we need more solidarity, of course. And I don't really think that any of us are going to be unaffected by this. Everybody is going to be affected by this, is already being affected by this pretty strongly. Even the people who are more insulated will be affected by this. And the idea that we can hustle our way out of it, or like build our independence without also building solidarity with those around us, and like get off scot-free, is essentially null and void. Because there are big things happening, like climate disaster and war and etc., etc., etc. And things are pointing toward drastic change, without compromise, without avoiding it. We can't avoid being affected by this change, essentially. I keep saying essentially. So there could also be a factor of getting your essentials, making sure that you have everything that you need, if possible. Kind of doomsday prepping a little bit. Not entirely, but the smartest astrologers I know have a go bag, right? I have a go bag. It's in the corner. And the thing that was coming up for me too before I drew from the source was like fear. We have the High Priestess as well, so still using that spirituality that you have, that you still using that intuition, still using your connection to your ancestors and your spirits and your angels and everything else as well that you have access to, right? There's no use freaking out about the inevitable, right? So being centered, I'm kind of seeing like joining meditation groups and building community that way. Doing your, joining a local art hangout of people who might be like-minded for you. There are so many things that they do at the library. Excuse me, if that's something that you have access to. Participating. Participating. Because there's really no use being afraid. It's gonna happen no matter what. But the devil's on your back as well. And I think the other thing is to be in acceptance of that and see that for what it is. Any type of maladapting coping mechanisms that you have could be coming up even stronger. So finding a community of people doing something that's not engaging in your maladaptive coping mechanisms. So calling a friend instead of hitting up your booty call. Something like that. Doing reading a book, starting a book club, joining a book club, where you actually are discussing interesting things that are of value to you, that bring you closer to the people around you, and not being afraid to admit out loud what you are going through, what you are experiencing. Acknowledging the devil on your back for what it is. Saying, hey, there's a little devil on my back, and it's saying this. Reaching out to your support group and saying, hey, there's a little devil on my back, and it's saying this. Is anyone available to go on a walk with me? Or distract me from this little devil? Or talk to me about your little devils so that our devils can meet and we can both see that maybe they're not as scary as we think they are, right? Because naming something takes its power away. I'll do one more card. One more on the bottom. Cups. The beginning in reverse. Yes, yes, yes. We're not going to find the community and solidarity that we want in the same places that we found them before, because we have spent so much time getting to know ourselves better and growing in ways that feel good to us, that connect us to ourselves. There is no going back. There is no going back to the time before. We're not going to find what we need in the past. We're not going to find what we need by looking at what we used to do to get those needs met. We are going to find our needs. We're going to find the people that we need to be in solidarity and community with by first accepting what is, and then moving to the next right step from where you are now. Not from where you were or from where you wish you were, but from where you are right now. What can you do right now to get you more connected to yourself and to your community? What can you do right now to lessen the impact for yourself and others for what's going to happen? If you are engaging in your addictions, what else are you doing? Because that can't be your only recourse. That can't be your only respite from the world around you. You need to get engaged in the world around you in other ways that don't involve forced dissociation. And there's nothing wrong with dissociating. We need to dissociate from time to time. Sometimes that's what you need to do. But that can't be your only thing. That can't be your only coping mechanism. Some of you are actually going to be getting sober, clean, soon. With this cups beginning in reverse, I see that happening for some of you. You might be meeting some like-minded people who are trying to do the same thing, or meeting some people who have been doing that for a long time. You may meet someone who has been sober for years, and you admire them and you think they're really cool, and you're like, oh, so maybe it is possible to like abstain from drinking and have it be cool and still be cool. And there's some liberation there as well to be had. So that's cool. There's plenty of opportunities. There's plenty of fellowships. There's plenty of people who spend time with each other in a spiritual and non-spiritual capacity. There's plenty of groups that meet in person and online that you can join. You don't have to create it yourself. You don't have to. I wouldn't even recommend it. I wouldn't even recommend creating it yourself unless it does not exist where you are at all. And even then, I would recommend finding other people who are doing what you want to do and asking them how they're doing it, what works, what doesn't work for them. And then you can learn from them, and then you can do it. You don't have to start everything from scratch. You don't have to do everything yourself. Like, there are people out there already doing the things that you are interested in, that you are excited about, that are aligned with your politics, that are aligned with your values, that are actually making tangible change, who you can spend time with. And it's not the end of the world if you find those people, you think that it's a match, and then it's not a match, and you have to move on and change. But there's also some value to sticking through it, because we don't want to treat people as disposable. We don't want to treat ourselves as disposable, right? That's not solidarity. How are you forgiving yourself? How are you forgiving others? How are you engaging with the people in your world who you care about? How are you making a difference? How are you showing up in the day-to-day? Because it will have a profound effect on how you cope with the stuff that is going to happen pretty soon here. That is already happening, right? It's better to start now than it is to not do anything because you're afraid of not being perfect. Recently, my mantra has been imperfect so as not to anger God. As a little joke, it's a little, tongue-in-cheek. It's to fight my own perfectionism, because I want to get an A in life, and there's no one to give me one. And I'm human and I'm imperfect, and my perfectionism keeps me from doing things. So, if something is worth doing, it's worth doing badly. Okay? Try it out. Go be in community. Go make mistakes. Have dramas. try to repair. Try it imperfectly. It's not easy, it's uncomfortable. That's why we lean on our spiritual practices, whatever they may be, even if it's just breathing. But we can't rely solely on spirit, right? Because spirit shows up to us, source shows up to us in a myriad of ways, including in the people around us, in nature, if you can dig it. If you can dig it, okay? That's it. That's the message. It came in slow and steady, very chill. I'm talking about some heavy things, but that's what it is, okay? Thank you for joining me. Subscribe to my channel, drop a comment, etc., etc., etc. I will see you next week.